Have you ever thought a tool that costs under $10 could actually outperform the pricey one you used to swear by? I used to laugh at that idea too, until I tried all sorts of DIY items, from cheap to high-end, and realized that some things at Harbor Freight really deliver results far beyond their price. I want to emphasize that I haven't received a single penny in advertising revenue from Harbor Freight. It's all real knowledge and experience, the parts I bought with my own money. I tested them myself in the garage, and I learned lessons after a few seasons of repairs. If you're like me, a DIY enthusiast who loves home repairs or spends weekends in the garage, this list will help you choose items that are both affordable, durable, and worth adding to your toolbox. Here are 10 items I've tried, used, and found that they can completely give expensive brands a run for their money. Let's get started. If we're talking about cheap but decent items at Harbor Freight, this 8-inch Pittsburgh wrench is among the few I've thought, okay, that's not bad. It's not the cheap kind of thing people think it is, that loosens after a few uses, and it's not as bad as the price you're seeing. For me, it even performed better than my initial expectations. What caught my attention first was the weight. It weighs just over 300 grams, feels light when you pick it up, but isn't hollow at all. Completely different from those made of thin aluminum that look cheap just by looking at them. I used it all afternoon to adjust faucets and tighten bicycle bolts. My hand didn't get tired like it did holding the nearly $40 Stanley I used to have. Honestly, I didn't think something under $10 would be so well balanced and delicious. The jaw opens a maximum of about 30 milli. It's not too big, but it's enough for most household chores. The important thing is that the jaw doesn't slip, which is a common problem with cheap wrenches. Of course, compared to Milwaukee or Knipex, it's still a long way off. And if you're planning to use it to tighten stubborn construction-grade bolts, I'm sorry, it wasn't made for that kind of action. Regarding the outer layer, thin chrome, bare rolled, not rubber-coated. It feels rough, but when your hands are oily, it sticks better than slippery rubber grips. It's not pretty, but I haven't seen anyone buy a $7 plant just to display it, so that really isn't an issue. There are drawbacks. After being left outdoors for a few days, the chrome immediately discolors. Wheel adjustment isn't as smooth as high-end models, and the thin jaws might make some people dislike the feeling of strong tightening. But at a price of only about $7, cheaper than a fast food meal, expecting anything more might be asking a bit much, don't you think? In short, this isn't pro-grade gear, but it's something you'll unconsciously reach for more often than you think. If you just need a wrench for small fixes around the house, not for wrenching on machinery 8 hours a day, the Pittsburgh 8-inch is perfectly reasonable. It's cheap, durable enough, and most importantly, not frustrating to use. At number 2 are the Hardy Mechanics gloves, a pair that many people tend to overlook at first. I was one of them, honestly, because they looked bulky, a bit fussy, and kind of awkward to use for small tasks. But after practicing wearing them a few times to get used to it, and then trying to take the gloves off, getting my hands sore, scratched, oily, and dirty all over. That's when I finally admitted my prejudice had lasted a bit too long. Speaking of materials, these aren't as bad as people think. Because it's made of 5 to 7 mil thick suede with 4-way stretch spandex and double-stitch seams, you can tell at a glance that it can withstand pulling, twisting, and rubbing quite well. It's ANSI Level 3, rated for abrasion resistance, which sounds theoretical, but in reality means it's hard to tear, hard to puncture, unless you rub it against hot iron. For me, a pair of Hardys used for weekend DIY, just a few hours of adjusting bikes, installing shelves, changing lawnmower oil. The lifespan of a pair of Hardys being 6 to 12 months is perfectly normal. The thumb and index finger will wear out first, but that's the natural wear and tear of any work gloves. And if you work in a garage for 8 hours a day, it's more realistic. 2-4 weeks is a reasonable lifespan. I used to wear them all the time, and I figured I went through about 10 pairs a year, which cost around $40–50. Compared to buying a pair of nice shoes for $8 to $25 that still get torn after a few weeks, well, honestly, Hardy is much more economical. Work gloves are inherently consumable items, not meant to last a whole year. Not to mention, if you happen to catch Harbor Freight during a buy one get one free sale, it's a no-brainer. Great prices, same quality, double the quantity. There's nothing to criticize. I'll share a little tip I often use. After using it, wash it lightly with soap, squeeze out the excess water, and let it air dry. Doing it that way, lifespan increases significantly. Sizing is a little tricky. If you've got bigger hands, go up a size so they're comfortable. Wear them too tight, and they're harder to move in. And they'll tear faster too. If you ask if there's a better brand that's cheaper, honestly, I haven't seen it yet. Unless a new company emerges that's cheaper and uses better materials, then I'd be ready to switch immediately. Wait a moment. Let me open the trunk so you can see what I always carry with me. This is the 10mm box I was talking about. For anyone who works in mechanics, this won't be a surprise because you all know 10mm is the universal bolt. Without it, things are almost at a standstill. I bought this set when Harbor Freight had it on sale for $8 to $9, which is almost half the current price. Buying one individually out there is already $7 to $10, so buying the whole set like this is both cheaper and saves you from having to run around looking for each piece. No one would dare deny the importance of the 10mm bolt. The national bolt, motorcycles, Japanese cars, lawnmowers, bicycles. It's needed every place. I'm the type of person who likes to experiment, so as soon as I bought it, I took it out to test it. Took the motorcycle wheels off for the little one, assembled the IKEA shelf, and adjusted the lawnmower. Everything fits together neatly, without slipping or rounding the corners. Opening the box, I found everything I needed. Shallow, deep, flex, impact sockets, and 1/4 inch, 3/8 inch, and 1/2 inch drives. The feeling of having the true 10mm universe right in your hand. Previously, I bought Tecton or Socket CRV 6-sided, which can withstand good torque. I tightened it hard without rounding off the head. Bright chrome, laser-etched size is clear. Easy to read even when the garage is dark. For something in this price range, little details like that make my repair jobs go a lot smoother than they used to. For year-end occasions that require pulling a trailer, attaching a Christmas tree hook, or repairing a motorcycle, I just need to throw the whole box into the trunk. Compact, lightweight, no need to think, and add a lifetime warranty to that. If it's lost or damaged, you can bring it in for an immediate replacement. No receipt needed. Honestly, $10 for a 10mm socket set that will last for a few years is a great investment compared to buying them individually, which would cost hundreds. And what I like best, since I got this box, I no longer have to mutter the familiar phrase every time I open the toolbox, lost another 10mm again. Number 4 today is the Quinn 10-in-1 multi-bit screwdriver. I've been using it since mid-2024. Wow, that's about 5.5 years now. I bought it for about $6 during a sale, which is less than the cost of one night out. But for those $6, I almost got rid of all the old screwdrivers of all kinds that were lying around in the garage. What I liked right away was the slightly rough ABS handle, which is hard but doesn't slip, even when your hands are oily. Bit S2 is hard, the magnetic head is stronger than I thought. Small PH0 or PH1 screws stick tightly to the head, and they don't fall off even when tilted for a few seconds. Changing the bit is also quick. Just a slight turn, and it's done. No need to fumble around like with my old drills. Most recently, I used it to remove a few screws from the washing machine lid. Normally, I have to find each tree of the right size, but with Quinn, just changing the bit once, and it's done. It felt so convenient that I had to laugh. A compact screwdriver that handles almost everything in the house. Of course, it's not professional grade for tightening bolts all day. But for everyday tasks, installing shelves, fixing remotes, changing batteries, opening the washing machine lid, removing a few small parts around the house, it's just enough, fast, and consistent. The point I appreciate most: after over a year and a half, the handle hasn't cracked, the bits haven't worn or become misaligned, and the magnet still holds screws well. At that price, that's more than enough. For me, the Quinn 10-in-1 is the kind of item you buy once and leave in the toolbox. Until you need it, then you just pull it out and use it without thinking. What about you? Are you using Quinn, or do you still have to rummage through the entire toolbox every time you fix something around the house? I remember the first time I used a Doyle 12-inch rafter square was when I was cutting a piece of wood for a window frame. That afternoon, the temperature was nearly 32 degrees Celsius. I was drenched in sweat, and just because of a few millimeters of misalignment, I had to discard the entire board, run to the store to buy another one, and start cutting from scratch. That mistake made me decide to just buy a new square ruler at random, and I accidentally chose Doyle just because it was cheap and convenient. Who would have thought that random purchase would save me later? The moment I placed the ruler down, what surprised me was that the laser-etched lines were very clear, sharp, and readable even in low light. No more leaning close and turning the ruler in all directions to make sure you're not seeing things wrong. For tasks that require continuous remeasurement, this small detail saves a considerable amount of time. The ruler is made of anodized aluminum, weighs about 200 grams. It's light, but still sturdy. I held it continuously for several hours to mark long cuts without getting tired like I would with a heavy steel ruler. The CNC edges are smooth, and the 90-degree or 45-degree angles are almost perfectly aligned, which gives me more confidence when cutting multiple sheets of wood. Those scribe notches might seem like a fun addition, but they're actually really convenient. Draw parallel lines quickly. No need to hold a ruler and measure a draft anymore. And you know what I did? I also tried dropping it from over 1 meter onto a concrete floor, but its shape structure didn't change. It didn't bend, warp, or distort at all. With the common cheap aluminum cookware, I rarely see that. I am not deifying Doyle at all, but after a few small projects, I clearly saw that it helped me avoid mistakes that cost me time, wood, and effort. Good tools won't make you a good craftsman, but they will help you avoid having to redo things due to silly mistakes. And in the midday heat, picking up Doyle felt light in my hand, and it hit the mark every time. That's when I understood why many people call this a one-time purchase for long-term use. In the number 6 position, I choose the Pittsburgh 8-inch flat file. I bought this for just a few dollars each. It was so cheap that I often bought extra. One for the garage, one to throw in the trunk. Doing DIY and having to run around looking for tools halfway through kills the mood, so it's better to have a little extra just in case. This file is suitable for those who occasionally repair cars, sharpen saw blades, work with wood, or file small metal parts. I remember sharpening the saw blade on the lawnmower. After a few strokes, I could clearly hear the metal biting, without needing to press down hard. The rubber-coated PVC handle grips quite firmly, enough for me to control the force as I wish, without slipping even with slightly oily hands. After each file stroke, the surface went from rough to smooth, and you could immediately feel you were on the right track. The file is 8 inches long, but it's comfortable to handle and doesn't get stuck, even in narrow spaces. It's lightweight. You can use it continuously for a few minutes without getting tired, and it feels well controlled. Looking at the teeth of the file, you can see that they are even and don't dull as quickly as the cheap ones from the supermarket. For normal needs, I don't see any reason to buy the more expensive kind. The most valuable point is durability. I left it in the garage all year, and when I needed to use it, the file teeth were still even, not dull or dragging. Just a few strokes and you can immediately tell it's still got plenty of life in it. A few dollars for a file like this is very reasonable. He handles all the weekend tasks neatly, from light car repairs and wood adjustments to metal filing. It's not high-end, but it's not as troublesome or fussy as many other cheap items. A small, inexpensive, but effective item. I hope you feel the same way I do when using it. Have you ever gotten to the gluing stage only to realize there's no clamp strong enough to hold the wood panel still? I've seen that scene countless times. The wooden frame is running wild, the glue is smeared, and my enthusiasm for work has completely plummeted. That's why I always have a Pittsburgh 24-inch quick release bar clamp in my trunk. It costs around $14. It sounds normal, but compared to the number of times I use clamps each year, clamping, tightening, holding, squeezing glue, that number is much cheaper than buying those $30, $40 clamps that sometimes still need adjusting back and forth to stay in place. With pine, MDF, and plywood in the garage, this clamp survived dozens of clamping sessions without slipping. Simplicity. If I use it 40, 50 times a year, each staple only costs a few cents. If you calculate the tools on a per-use basis like that, it's too reasonable. 24-inch straight steel bar, sturdy cast iron jaws, comfortable handle that fits well in the hand. The quick release operates smoothly, clamping and releasing quickly. No need to turn several times and then pull, which limits the need for repeated adjustments. While working, I held the wooden board with one hand, pressed the quick release with the other, gave it a gentle push, and it was done. The clamp holds steady, without moving, helping me drill, screw, or glue without having to strain an extra hand to hold it. DIY woodworking with clamps that stand so steadily is immediately noticeable. Every now and then, I even try clamping thicker pieces using more glue, and the clamps still hold up reasonably well without bending the steel bar or slipping. For weekend projects like repairing tables and chairs, building small shelves, and assembling auxiliary cabinets, the Pittsburgh 24-inch performs its role well, quickly, securely, and without causing any inconvenience. Is $14 worth investing in for a clamp that can be used continuously without minor damage? For me, it's a very worthwhile investment. You should try it right away. Next is the screwdriver set I use most in the garage, the Doyle 6-piece heavy-duty screwdriver set. If you frequently remove spark plugs, open lawn mowers, knock off rust, or simply do DIY projects around the house, you'll likely reach for this set first, just like I did. Before I get to the advantages, I'll be upfront about one thing. The Doyle handle is a bit slippery when your hands are wet. When I've just finished washing my car, or when it's hot and I'm sweating a lot, I have to grip tighter to avoid slipping. When I encounter old, stuck screws, sometimes I have to use pliers for extra leverage. This is the most obvious drawback after several months of continuous use. If I were to rate the grip aspect alone, I'd give it a 3 out of 5. Not bad, but not confident enough when working in humid or greasy conditions. The rest is better than I thought. CRV steel is hard, and the force transmitted from the hand to the screw is quite direct. I used to tighten spark plugs, tighten the bolts on the lawnmower, and open screws that had been rusty for a whole year. The screw heads weren't chipped, and the screwdriver shafts weren't twisted. Ergonomic handle, comfortable for long periods, and the lifetime warranty is also a big plus. If one breaks, you can exchange it for a new one. No receipt needed. Calculating the value, $25 for 6 pieces is very reasonable compared to Stanley sets that cost around $40. The actual quality when tightening, loosening, etc. didn't seem very different to me, but the quality you get for the money is quite clear. The feeling when using Doyle is also comfortable. The screw head bites into the groove immediately, operation is fast, and you don't have to change tools often. With tasks like opening the washing machine lid, removing motorcycle spark plugs, or fixing household items, Doyle handles them smoothly. For me, it's the kind of screwdriver set you just leave there, and when you need it, it's ready. And even though the grip could be better, overall it's still a solid choice for the garage and for weekend DIY work. Number 9 on today's list is the Bauer 500 Lumen LED rechargeable magnetic work light. Before I say anything positive, I'll point out the most obvious drawback. The battery only lasts about 2 to 3 hours on high brightness. If you plan to work under the car or in the garage all evening, It's best to charge your phone beforehand or bring a portable power bank. If I were to rate the battery life separately, I'd give it a 3.5, enough for light tasks, but not really reliable for longer jobs. Honestly, for $29 it performed better than I expected. The magnets at the base of the lamp are extremely strong, gripping firmly onto the hood, steel frame, iron pipe, and even the edge of a metal wall. I tried shining it into the engine compartment, shaking the car, slamming the doors. It still stayed put. When I have to hold a wrench and work in a tight space, having the light stay still helps me work faster and be less frustrated. The USB-C charging battery is also a big plus. I don't want to go back to using micro USB or removable batteries anymore. It's both slow and inconvenient. The lamp has a low mode to extend battery life, which is perfect for weekend DIY projects when you only need just enough light. In reality, when shining under the car or into the engine compartment, 500 lumens is just right, bright enough to clearly see every bolt and component edge without being blinded or losing detail. The lamp is lightweight, flexible, easy to adjust the direction, and thanks to the strong magnet, both hands are always free for operation. At this price point, I consider this a one-time purchase that will last for several years, and I will definitely buy it again and recommend it to more people. The final item for today is the Hallmaster E-Track Ratcheting tie-down. When I first saw the price of $11, I was a bit skeptical. Tie-down straps are not to be trifled with, and sometimes a low price means a lot of trouble. I thought, I wonder how much it can handle, or if it will get stuck after a few pulls. I'll try it out right away on the weekend trailer pull. I wrapped the 20FT polyester strap around the sofa 4 times, hooked it into the E-Track rail, and started tightening. The ratchet is firm, with no play or vibration. The hook gripped the rail firmly, and I pulled it a few times to check. Everything stayed still. It doesn't slip, it doesn't need to be adjusted mid-use, and it doesn't give you that half-believing, half-doubting feeling like the cheap straps I used before. What I like is that the cord is just the right softness. Not too stiff so that your hand gets tired after a few twists, and not too soft that you have to guess the force. I tried tying a Christmas tree, hauling a lawnmower, and securing heavy items weighing nearly 2,000 Bs. It remained even, without cracking or twisting the ratchet. After use, simply wipe clean, dry, and roll up. With a usage frequency of a few times a year, I think this set will last through several seasons without any complaints. In summary, $11 for a stable running tie-down. I think this is a DIYer's option to try, or for anyone who occasionally pulls a trailer. This can also be considered a top choice compared to buying an expensive set of straps that you still have to watch every little bit. Those were 10 Harbor Freight tools that I've used for many years, testing them in various situations in the garage and during weekend DIY projects. Each item has its own pros and cons, but overall they are worth the money, durable and convenient, helping you avoid trying out a series of low-quality tools and saving you time. All these experiences came from the money and time I invested, with no advertising revenue whatsoever. If you're looking for tools for home projects or garage repairs, these are the items I would choose again in a heartbeat. Now it's your turn. Try it, experience it, and see for yourself what really suits you. Sometimes saving isn't just about money, but about a smoother experience, smoother workflow, and fewer hassles.